Hey everyone, Margarita here. I just want to film this video real quick on the update on the Fukashima flushing, the wastewater flushing from it. Now that there's been several tornadoes and rainy days, and the tornadoes were spread across the US, and the wastewater did make its way all the way around the entire planet into all the waterways, bodies of water. Since they're all connected, that's where it all goes each time. And now that there's been all these storms, extra rain, and tornadoes that have come about because the tornadoes stir up the wind, stir up the remnants of what's been left once the flush occurs. I released the last video on the reason for all the tornadoes, so you should probably watch that one first. And then where I'm at with it now, because I'm down in Ohio, not too far from my house in Ohio, just because I had to get some things moving and show it to a couple who'd been interested, waiting on a lump sum payment, really thinking they were going to buy the home about a month ago. Hadn't seen it yet, but we're still thinking they were just going to go ahead and purchase it. I just said, when you're interested, let me know. I will meet you down there and show it to you. So I did come down here to find two of the windows broken, but good thing they're double paned windows, so only one portion of each of those double paned windows was broken, so it's not too bad, and they are still willing to pay the asking price, regardless of the windows being broken. And I was worried that there might be some damage to the home due to the storms, because I saw on the map that there was more tornadoes. The weather was supposed to be worse down here than where my house is in Michigan, and I was correct. There was some damage, not too much, just a little bit. And I guess it's not really going to be an issue, but that's the reason I came down here. Now down here I'm a little further west of the waterways. It is still by Lake Erie, but west. So and there's a stream nearby as well that I don't know if it's a river or a stream. It does come off of Lake Erie and down into Ohio a little bit. I'm not too far away as well. Now my house in Michigan is 5 minutes away from Lake Erie. And I was in numerous different places during the other Fukashima flushing previously. So this was the first time that the weather plays a role, how hot or how cold it is. So this was the first time I was in my house in Michigan during that type of weather, where it is in May currently. While this was going on, the levels were extremely high initially about 2 weeks ago, pretty bad. And I got real sick. My son got real sick from it. We basically had to spend our times indoors from that point forward. And I came down to Ohio now that all these storms have happened, expecting it to be a little different, knowing we're a little more inland, but really not expecting it to be 100% clear. And I've been outside for well over an hour now, and we're at a park we've been to many different times over the last several years. So I've been here before, and I've also been through numerous spills, explosions, gas leaks and such, flushes, chemical spills, and they do flush them everywhere, and some of them have made their way down to Ohio during the course of this time as well, where I'm located. So I wasn't exactly expecting it to be as clear as it is today. Where it is today, a little bit more inland from Lake Erie than where my house is in Michigan, but I can say that based on how I feel, because I don't need somebody to measure any gases or tell me anything. I can tell exactly by the way I feel with my brain tissue being open. It is almost all the way clear currently where I'm at here in Ohio right now, and I'm about 5 minutes from my other home. And at my other house in Ohio, in Michigan, it is not anywhere near as clear as where it is here. So I guess within a few rains or storms, as long as it rains a significant amount, I do believe it won't be much longer before it's clear there. But it is definitely a huge difference between where it is in Michigan and where it is in my house in Ohio. Huge difference in the air quality and the remnants that are left where I am right now. I've been out here the whole time. I feel totally fine. My brain is not burning. My ears are not hurting. And they have been continuously for almost 2 weeks now. So for that to be the case, that just tells me we're not too far off from everything completely flushing away. those storms that all came last week played a significant role in making it dissipate as fast as it did, to the degree that it has. It's flushing. It's getting there. It's real close. I guess it depends on where you're located. The closer you are to any large bodies of water, it's going to be a little more significant, and the further out you go from there, it's going to be a little stronger. But now that I've checked out the air down here, assessed everything down here versus what it's like up in Michigan, because even like 5 days ago I had an issue. I went for a short ride, 2 days in a row, a short ride, not very far. I don't even think the windows were all the way down, just cracked. And I was significantly re-injured. My brain was burnt to a crisp, bleeding significantly for days. More than it usually does when I have exposures and there's brain bleeding going on. This was way more significant, to the point where I was actually incapacitated for about 2 whole days straight. Couldn't get anything done, drowning in paperwork that I need to assess and get to, and emails that I need to send, and I haven't gotten to it. And it was a result of those 2 short trips up there. And now that I'm all the way down here, in just a different area of it all, a little bit away from the Great Lakes, it's really not all that much farther out. There's a huge difference. So the fact that I feel the way I feel, I'm totally fine out here right now. I've been for over an hour. It would hit me immediately. If there was a problem, I would know immediately. It wouldn't be, sometimes my effects are delayed. I guess I'll know tomorrow if it's like 100% clear where I'm currently sitting right now. And I guess you could say, I guess the technical city where I'm sitting right now is Holland, Ohio. But it's almost, if it's not 100% clear, it's very close to being 100% clear, to the point where it's really not noticeable. And I don't expect to have any effects tomorrow. Which would be when I would have the effects, if there is something going. If there's still some lingering particles, I'll know tomorrow. I don't really expect it to be much if there is. My effects are from the couple car rides I took last Wednesday and Thursday up in Michigan for about, I think I might have spent about 10 total minutes in the vehicle each of those days. And that's what really messed me up. So where I'm at with it currently, those particles did begin to clear quite a bit. I'd say about 70% clear. So I've been a little messed up from that, but nothing additional has happened, and I actually feel a little bit better coming down here and breathing different air, even though I woke up this morning really unwell. Yesterday and the day before were pretty bad. Even then, I got it under control yesterday to a certain degree, and then I got it under control earlier. It just took me a little longer to get out the door, and I was meeting some people who were driving from over 2 hours away to meet me in a different direction, but they were patient. It took them longer than they expected to get there anyway, and it did work out. It's just, it takes me longer to get up and ready and going if I have somewhere I have to be. This is why I can't punch a clock or pick up the pieces to my life properly or rebuild in the manner in which I did, because I'm not always okay. I can't control that, and I can't control the conditions of the air, and depending on what has spilled or what's in the air or what's being flushed, I can't always still travel by vehicle from point A to point B either. Some of these go right through the ventilation system. Most of them do. Sometimes I'm able to travel without using the ventilation system, depending on the conditions of the air. And I just know how to crack the window from time to time to get from point A to point B, depending on how far I have to travel. I'm able to do it that way and control the flow of the air in the vehicle, and just not use the ventilation system is usually what I have to do when something like that's going on. So based on where it's at down here, I can say the majority of the inland of the United States, where all the tornadoes have been, I'm sure it's pretty clear for the most part. I'm pretty sure most of it's flushed away. It's just, I'd say the outer edges of anything with bodies of water surrounding it, all over the U.S. I'd say probably have a significant problem still. But if it just rains, I don't know, I'd say 3 to 5 good times more, it should clear those areas to be about where this area in Ohio is, more inland. So I don't think it's going to be much longer. I'd say like 2 weeks-ish, maybe, where my house is in Michigan, or anywhere that's within like I don't know, a 20 to 30 minute drive of a body of water surrounding the U.S. I guess that would go for the other countries on the other side of the world as well. The more inland they are, the clearer it's going to be. And it's just going to take a little longer to clear the outer edges. But yeah, that's my assessment. My body's like a human gas and chemical detector. Nothing I ever set out to do intentionally. But that's about where things are. It's probably more of a tolerable, like legal amount, safe amount, I'm sure, at this point where it's all, I'm sure that's kind of where it's at now, worldwide, I guess you could say. And the countries that are just small little islands all over, those probably aren't clear. Those are probably the more toxic, the higher level in those areas, I'm sure. Like Hawaii, Japan, Puerto Rico, all that. I'm sure the levels are a little higher there. But yeah, I would say not much longer. Several more rains, significant rain periods. Now, I'm not talking about like a little sprinkle here or there. I'm talking about several hours of rain, numerous different days, in order to finish suppressing it and washing it and flushing it to a certain degree. And depending on the temperature outside is how it slowly dissipates up. Once it gets a little warmer, it slowly dissipates upward as well. Once the initial flushing suppresses it down in all the sewer systems and in the waterways, because it's being flushed in the water, it'll then dissipate upwards once it gets real warm and eventually evaporate up off the planet. So if we fluctuate in between something a little cooler and something a little on the hotter end, it tends to kind of just fluctuate up and down where the humans are on the planet. Now, if it just stays continuously cold, it stays down. If it stays continuously hot, it more so stays up. But once those temperatures start going up and down to where you're needing a hoodie, versus where you're in summertime clothing, if you have to switch back and forth, it's going to be a little longer to dissipate that in the air in general. And I'm just speaking from all the life experience I have and all the explosions and spills and flushes I've been through, and my brain tissue being open, how all of that works in the different areas I've been in, and where they spread to, how long it takes to dissipate and how it dissipates. But it does eventually make its way up off the planet. Once they flush it to a certain degree and then it gets hot enough, it will just dissipate upwards very slowly. So the Fukushima flushing doesn't seem to linger around as long as the Ford Motor Company gas spills that have gone on by my house in Flat Rock, Michigan. And there was a chemical spill in Wixom, Michigan about almost 3 years ago, and that did take about a year to fully dissipate. It was a good 50 to 100 miles out from there in every which direction, and it took about a year for that to fully dissipate. It made its way down to my house in Ohio as well. However, those particles did not make their way into the home through the windows the way the Ford gas spill does. And then there was that train explosion in East Palestine, Ohio, which is about 190 miles from my home in Ohio. It was not making its way indoors as long as the doors and windows were shut. That was not making its way in either. But it was still pretty dangerous driving from point A to point B in the vehicle with the ventilation running in the car. That explosion, same thing, dissipates the same way, even though it was up in the air, more than a liquid flush going into the sewer system and in the ground or in the water. That went into the air, same concept. That didn't take as long to dissipate either. That only took a few months, 2 to 3 months, I believe. Excuse me. And then, what was the other one? I was going to talk about another kind. Yeah, I mean, I've just been through different types of spills, explosions, flushes, depending on what it is. Each one's a little different. Oh, the wildfires, that's what I was going to say. Depending on where they're coming from, because they do come over here to Michigan and Ohio area from Canada as well. That's how I ended up dead on the floor at Walmart 2 years ago. I did too much driving out and about with the ventilation on. I had to. It was so hot out. I had to run the air. I really shouldn't have traveled that far that day. I kind of knew there might be an issue, and I really shouldn't have risked it, and I did anyway. I was just really tired, and I wanted to lay in my bed, so that's what I did, and that's kind of how that happened. And so I had to come all the way to Ohio, because that's where my bed was at the time. And so the wildfires, because they come from many different places, there's many areas where these wildfires are going on. And I've seen the wildfires from California eventually make their way over to Michigan as well. over the course of time. When they continue on for long periods of time, I've seen that as well. So, that is a problem. Those do get into the ventilation of the car. They do not make their way inside the house as long as everything is sealed up. I just kind of want to talk about the environment and how people, the general public, isn't aware of these things, would have no reason to dig into any of these things or understanding any of it to the degree that I do. But it's life-threatening to my son and I, so I don't have a choice but to know these things and keep up on it and be aware of it. I'm forced to be aware of it because it takes over my system and I become extremely ill immediately. It's not, oh, there's a spill, I'm going to look into it. No, I become immediately very ill, and I have no choice to figure out who caused it and when and where and how much, and I generally figure it out pretty fast. Doesn't take me very long. Each spill and each explosion and whatnot, they all create different symptoms. Each one is its own set of symptoms. I know I'm poisoned by carbon monoxide at a cellular level. My brain tissue is open. All particles go through my open brain tissue. So you can watch those videos on the blood-brain barrier and how all that works under that playlist. And then you can watch the other videos I've made on the environmental spills and explosions and how all that works as well, that the general public isn't aware of. But yeah, I'll basically be filming updates with every spill and explosion and set of wildfires and wherever I'm located at any of these times that these go on, because they go on all over. I will be releasing videos on that continuously because that's always going to be a problem for me. And it's never going to stop. There's no way to completely stop all of that. There's large companies that spill all the time. Not just Ford, it's many things, many places. But yeah, I will talk more about this, and I will give an update every time there's a flush or a spill of any kind, and let the general public know what they're not talking about on the news and what they don't want the general public to know. And I really just don't care because there's already so many hits out on my life. I really just don't care. I live suffering anyway, and everything's already set up in case I do not make it out of any of this. I really just don't care that I'm exposing the truth and exposing all these people. The only thing you'd be doing is taking me out of my own misery. So that's why I don't care, and I am aware there's people who don't want me to talk about this, very big people, and that it really shouldn't be talked about. But in the position I'm in, I'm the person to talk about it because that's just what needs to happen, and that's what I'm here to do. And I am one of the 144,000 chosen ones, and that's why I've died and came back twice without medical intervention, and that's why I suffer all these extreme circumstances, and I'm able to manage to somehow jump every hurdle because I'm here to do God's work. I work directly for God himself. I am here to expose a lot of corruption within individuals and large agencies and then on the planet as well. Not just my mother, it goes way beyond that. It's just that it has to be addressed and situated first so I can get to all these other situations. So yeah, I'm one of the 144,000 chosen ones. I'm here to make big changes in the world. I'm here to make big changes on the planet. I'm here to enlighten the population on things that that they're not making public to everybody else, that nobody would even know about. Yeah, and that's why they call me an Earth Angel. That's why I'm one of the chosen ones. So I'll be back with more. Thanks. Bye.